Welcome to
Theories
of the third kind.
Welcome to Theories of the Third Kind. My name is Aaron. The other host joining me today is Daniel.
Hello.
Now, before we start today's episode, we do have a quick announcement to make.
If you would like to support the show, you can do so by joining our premium subscription service, Supercast. It's not through Patreon anymore, it is now Supercast. And for just $6.66 a month, enjoy weekly premium audio episodes and access our extensive back catalog of over 210 premium episodes that are all ad-free.
Now, if you are a big baller, shot caller, rolling on 24-inch blades like little Troy, then you can sign up to our Third Kinder Elite membership for $9.99 a month. Not only will you get all of the audio, but you will also get the exclusive video footage for that premium episode that week, as well as all of the previous ones and bonus video footage.
And bonus footage of our beautiful faces.
So you can sign up to our premium membership by going to our website, theoriesofthethirdkind.com. There's going to be like a little button right there in the middle that says Supercast. You fucking click it if you want to. It's up to you. And it will take you to our Supercast sign up. And yeah, you can do all of that right there. Now, if you are currently a Patreon member, you can get grandfathered in. And we'll have a link down below if you're watching this on YouTube that will allow you to click. It'll say Patreon grandfathered in, and you just click it.
That easy. Now, we know things are tough out there right now, so if you can't afford a premium membership but you want to help us out, then you can do so by leaving a written review on iTunes or Spotify.
That helps us out a lot.
A lot. However, though, don't feel pressure to leave us one. If you don't want to, then that's fine. We just want you guys, girls, aliens, reptilians, Bigfoot, Sasquatches, Chupacabras, ghosts, Illuminati members, underground lizard people, whoever or whatever you are, to enjoy the show. Also, remember, our content is entirely human-made. No AI was involved or harmed in the process.
That you're aware of. And that is the end of the announcements. So today's episode is the 1897 Aurora, Texas UFO crash. Have you ever heard of this before, Daniel?
Once. Very briefly. But that was it.
Okay, well, straddle up, strap in, put your strap on, and let's get going. All right. Now, before we get into the crash itself, we first need to give you a little history lesson about what was going on at this time in the United States. It was the mid 1800s. What was going on? Dan, give us a little history lesson.
All right. So I want everyone to imagine that you're in the mid 1800s. Your ass is living in the middle of the United States. Now, what is going on around that time? Well, a lot of shit was going on. Shit that you don't want to be doing.
Yeah. But one of the things that was going on was manifest destiny. Manifest destiny was the belief that, hey, the United States was destined to expand across the North American continent.
The American dream.
Yeah.
At the time.
Now, it was this belief amongst the people living in that area that were just kind of moving westward that ended up leading to the Mexican-American War, which ultimately led to the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo.
This treaty granted the United States an assload of new territories, including California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and a bunch of other places. Then in 1861, Abraham Lincoln became the 16th president of the United States.
Now, shortly after that, a lot of southern states ended up leaving the Union, aka pretty much just the United States at the time. And these states that left, they formed what was called the Confederacy. And this ended up kicking off the Civil War. But we're not going to get into the Civil War. We're not going to talk about that. Instead, we are going to talk about something called the Homestead Act of 1862.
All right. After Abraham Lincoln became president and before he freed the slaves, his ass signed the Homestead Act of 1862. So,
Didn't really have
what?
his priorities straight. Sorry.
No, but what is the Homestead Act of 1862?
All right. So the Homestead Act, this is what it was. During the time, Abraham Lincoln was like, damn, all you white wig wearing. I don't think he talked like that. You think he talked like that?
I think he was more polite or something.
He knows. Probably talk like this. Damn. Well, he wasn't English. Damn. Yeah. Damn. Like a Duke Nukem's. Damn. Blow it out your ass. Damn. Chew bubblegum. Damn. You white wig wearing ass bitches. You see all that open land we have west that we acquired? Yeah. It's all empty. I don't see anybody living there. You see, we got the Confederacy, and they're going to try to take all that over. We need to develop all that land. We need to come up with ways that we can move people there and develop it. That's pretty much what he said.
Ah. Then that's when someone spoke up and suggested, Mr. President, what if we tell all our citizens to move over to that area and they can have any amount of land they want as long as they develop it and make it look nice?
Well, Mr. Lincoln thought that was a great idea. He was like, you know what? I like that. And he ended up signing it into law, and that became the Homestead Act of 1862.
Okay.
So to put it simply, the U.S. government in 1862 was like, all you motherfuckers need to move your asses westward, as in population that was living around there. And you need to move out towards California and shit. And if you do, we will allow any adult citizen or intended citizen to claim 160 acres of land, as long as your ass started building on it and cultivating that land.
That's a lot of land.
That is a lot. You think we could travel back then and acquire a bunch of land? 160 acres. All you got to do is just live on it.
All you got to do is live on it and pretend to farm.
Pretend he's out there digging holes again. Man, my name's Stanley Yelnats. I'm looking for the freaking treasure.
We're eating what? Peaches? Oh no, onions.
Yeah, I'm going to have Zero out there with me.
Even though they were just apples in the movie. Cheaters. Anyway, now why is this Homestead Act important to today's episode? Well, it was this act that played a pivotal role in the development of the town that our entire episode is over today, Aurora, Texas.
So to give you all a good idea of where Aurora, Texas is located, I want you all to imagine the state of Texas. Yeehaw. Place your finger right inside of it. I mean, right in the middle of it, okay, on a map. Consensually. Then I want you to head north, just above the city of Fort Worth, and there is a town called Aurora.
Ah, okay. So back in the 1850s, settlers came to this area of Texas and settled. Then over the next 20 years, the population of the area increased quickly. Then in 1873, they built their first post office. Yeehaw, mail.
Fuck yeah.
Then in 1882, the 3.72 square mile town of Aurora was officially recognized by the state of Texas.
3.72 square miles. That's not a lot.
That's not really big.
No, that's what she said.
Yeah.
So over the next few years, this town of Aurora would build schools. They would open up multiple businesses and also open up a few cotton gins. However, the town never officially took off like its neighboring cities, such as Fort Worth, Dallas, Waco, Houston, and pretty much every other city compared to Aurora, except Golson, Texas. That still hasn't taken off.
I bet they just couldn't say Aurora, right?
Yeah.
So, as of 2020, Aurora only has a population of 1,390 people, with 420 total households and 356 families living in the town. So, needless to say, not much happens in Aurora. However, though, back in the year of 1897, everyone in the United States was talking about this small ass town.
All right. So what happened is that it all started on Saturday, April 17th, 1897. At 6 a.m. that morning in the small town of Aurora, Texas, individuals were just sitting outside enjoying their morning coffee when all of a sudden a large ass object came out from the sky and crashed into the ground.
Geez, Ma, you see that? Of course, the individuals who didn't see the object crash into the ground, well, they still heard it, because supposedly it was very loud. The crash echoed throughout the town, waking up anyone who was actually sleeping still.
Now, not much is known about what happened after the object from the sky crashed down until about 2 days later. So on Monday, April 19th, 1897, the Dallas Morning News published an article talking about this object crashing down in that town of Texas.
The headline of the article states, "A windmill demolishes it." The article goes on to say, about 6 o'clock this morning, the early risers of Aurora were astonished at the sudden appearance of the airship which had been sailing through the country.
It was traveling due north and much nearer the earth than ever before. Evidently, some of the machinery was out of order, for it was making a speed of only 10 or 12 miles an hour and gradually settling toward the earth.
That's pretty slow.
Yeah, it's like they kind of knew that this UFO had
Yeah.
been there before and how fast it went.
It sailed directly over the public square, and when it reached the north part of town, it collided with the tower of Judge Proctor's windmill and went to pieces with a terrific explosion, scattering debris over several acres of ground, wrecking the windmill and water tank, and destroying Judge's flower garden.
Damn.
They had to specify the fucking flower garden. All right.
So the pilot of the ship is supposed to have been the only one on board. And while his remains are badly disfigured, enough of the original has been picked up to show that he was not an inhabitant of this world.
Mr. T.J. Weems.
There you go with the fucking names again.
Weems.
No, it's the fucking T.J. Weems. J.W. Bush.
Oh, the initials.
R.C. Proctor. G.D. Dunham.
J.B. Whitworth.
Call J.B. Whitworth. He's 77 cash now.
So Mr. T.J. Weems, the United States Signal Service officer at this place and an authority on astronomy, gives it as his opinion that he was a native of the planet Mars. Papers found on his person, evidently, the record of his travels are written in some unknown hieroglyphics and cannot be deciphered.
The ship was too badly wrecked to form any conclusion as to its construction or motive power. It was built of an unknown metal, resembling somewhat a mixture of silver and aluminum, and it must have weighed several tons.
You mean aluminium?
Aluminium for all you English folks.
I don't know if you said folks or fucks.
Fucks.
It was folks. We'll say folks. The town is full of people today who are viewing the wreck and gathering specimens of the strange metal from the debris. The pilot's funeral will take place at noon tomorrow. S.E. Hayden.
There you go with the fucking 2 initials for the first name. Damn. So that right there is what the article said. And we do have a copy of that. And we'll post it up on our website, theoriesofthethirdkind.com, under today's episode for anyone that wants to take a look at it. And we'll post it up right here, right now. Not like you're going to have time to read it.
Or it's not going to be big enough for you to read, really.
That's what she said. We just read it too. But there you go. Show you we got proof that we have it.
So following that news article being published, the story ended up going viral. A ton of people from all over started visiting the town, hoping to catch a glimpse of this dead alien or the crashed UFO.
All right. Now, we just got done recording this entire episode. But
here we are.
Here we are again. Thanks a lot. What is it? Procaster? I don't even know.
Roadcaster 2.
Roadcaster 2. You'd think with the amount of money spent on the son of a bitch, they'd put a little notifier to say, hey, your SD card is full. It has stopped recording your audio.
But nope, everything keeps continuing working as it should.
It just stops. It just stops. And it doesn't notify you. And everything keeps going, except it stops recording.
Yep, but everything else going. You can see the levels going up, all that.
And it has a big old LED screen on it that should, if you would think the manufacturers would put something on there that says, stopped recording.
Nope.
The only thing that changes is that little bitty button changes from red to green.
But there's so much red and green on there.
Yeah, everything's red and green on there. So anyway.
All right.
This is us starting again.
Beating the fuck out of Roadcaster.
I want a one-on-one with the CEO of Roadcaster. Knuckle up.
Knock your punk ass out.
All right. So we're continuing where it had stopped. So the residents of Aurora, Texas, their opinions on what occurred were pretty mixed. Some individuals believed that the airship crash was real and that it was the signs of the end of times and that the little alien creature was Jesus. Others believed that the airship crash was real as well, but it was not a UFO and that instead it was just some experimental aircraft and that the alien being was actually what's the correct term? I don't want to say the incorrect. What's a little person? Is that the right one? Or is it the other one? Midget. I don't know. Little person, midget. Don't know. My intentions are good. Much respect. They believe it was a littler individual that was inside there. But regardless, those were the two beliefs that were the most common in the town.
Regardless, like we stated, the publishing of the story in the Dallas newspaper made the entire thing go viral, and visitors from all over started coming to the small town of Aurora.
Also, after this supposed crash, there was a funeral that was held for the dead alien, and which the locals ended up giving this dead alien a name. They called it Ned. N-E-D. Yeah. So the alien was given a proper funeral. It was buried at the Aurora Cemetery, and a crude headstone with a roughly etched UFO on it was placed at its gravesite, which we have that photograph right there for you to take a look at.
It looks very new, very clean.
It does.
But it looks like a kindergarten kid
came up there with a chisel.
Well,
good on them.
Yeah, good kid. Now, only a few weeks after the crash and funeral, the story was pretty much forgotten by the public and the news of it pretty much died down. However, the legend of the crash still lingered amongst the townsfolk, and it would be brought up every so often. Hey, you remember that UFO over there? Which one? Oh, yeah, that one. The one that crashed in Aurora. Destroyed Judge Proctor's fucking windmill, huh?
And his garden, too. He's pissed about that.
We all hated that garden.
Yeah. And that was pretty much the talk of the town. And not much else was said about it until about 40 years later, in 1935. An individual named Brawley Oates, he ended up purchasing Judge Proctor's property, including the windmill that was supposedly hit and the water well. Now, while Brawley was working on the property, he started cleaning out the natural debris out of the water well to get it flowing again since it was stopped up. And as he was cleaning it out, he's like, damn, my hands hurt really bad. And he developed severe arthritis.
Now, Broly, you're being called Broly now, you bitch, would claim, and we quote, I developed this severe arthritis not because of my shitty DNA. I don't even know what the fuck that is, DNA. It's because of that damn water well. That alien UFO crashed right here and leaked its contents all into the ground, which caused me to develop arthritis. It's all the aliens' fault, I tell you. Goddamn Ned. Some bitch.
And that's what Brawley said. Now, following that, not much would
Exactly
happen for another about 40 years or so. Finally, in the early 1970s, a group of individuals who were investigating the crash, they tried to have the remains of the buried alien taken out of the ground so that they could figure out, hey, is this thing really human or is it alien? We want to get it scientifically tested.
However, a court injunction in 1972 stated that they could not take the body out of the ground unless the next of kin of the deceased could be notified. Now, since the individuals did not know if the thing was buried was an actual alien or individual or who the hell it was, there was no way to notify the family and the remains had to be left in place. So the attempt at finding out the truth failed.
Yeah. Now, 7 years later, Time magazine, they conducted an interview with a woman named Etta Peggs.
Does she?
I hope not. Now, Etta was an old ass bitch. She was around 86 years old about the time of this interview, and respectfully, she claimed that she was alive during this incident and that she really knew what happened.
Etta stated that the entire story was a hoax, that some of the townsmen came up with the idea as a way to bring interest back to Aurora. The town was dying and they had to come up with an idea, so they faked this UFO crash.
Of course, after the Time magazine published, a lot of people pretty much wrote the crash off as being fake, and the investigations into it pretty much slowed down. Almost 20 years later is when the next investigation would occur, and that would take place in 1998. KDFW, a Dallas based TV station, ended up airing a report about the incident.
In this report, Jim Mars and a bunch of locals were interviewed. However, the investigation was unable to find conclusive evidence of extraterrestrial life or technology. It is important to note that during the investigation, the state of Texas put up a historical plaque in the town that talks about the tale of the crash and calls it a legend.
Now, we do have an image of this plaque. And if you look right here, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see it. If not, just go to our website, theoriesofthethirdkind.com, click on today's episode, and take a look at the plaque and go to the second paragraph. And it states, located in Aurora Cemetery is the gravestone of the infant Nellie Burris, with its often quoted, as I was so soon done, I don't know why I was begun. I don't know what the hell they mean by that. But anyways, it goes on to say, this site is also well known because of the legend, keyword there, legend, that a spaceship crashed nearby in 1897 and the pilot killed in the crash was buried here. That's what the second paragraph states, which, like we said, keyword legend. And on the surface, I mean, when you look at that and you kind of compile everything, it all seems like a hoax, you know? That's what everybody assumed. However, on December 2nd, 2005, the UFO Files TV show aired an episode where they uncovered some strange things involving this incident.
So, in that 2005 UFO Files TV episode, it uncovered a 1973 investigation that was never released to the public. This investigation was led by Bill Case, who was the Texas State Director of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network.
During this investigation, MUFON uncovered 2 eyewitnesses in the crash. A woman named Mary Evans, who was 15 at the time. Mary stated that her parents went to the crash site where they witnessed the alien body. Mary's parents told her that, hey, you are forbidden to go into town and into that area where this crash took place at. We don't want you seeing that alien, and we don't want you seeing that UFO. Now, the other eyewitness, besides Mary, was Charlie Stevens, who was 10 years old at the time. Charlie stated that he saw the airship trailing smoke as it headed north toward Aurora. He wanted to see what happened, but his father was like, no, you stay your ass home and you finish your chores. That following morning, his father ended up heading into town and came back home and said, hey, yeah, I saw the wreckage and I saw that little ass alien.
You, t- you talked about that wreckage so much. I don't want you to go near it, but I went and saw it for you.
Yeah, let me describe it. He described it to his son.
Oh. Now, along with those two eyewitness accounts, MUFON also investigated the Aurora Cemetery. MUFON also asked for permission to dig up the site, but of course was declined. The report ended with MUFON stating that the evidence that was found was inconclusive, and they are not sure if the entire thing really happened or not.
Yep. And almost 3 years later, on November 19th, 2008, the TV show UFO Hunters, they aired another television documentary about the Aurora incident, calling it First Contact. Now, this documentary was pretty much the exact same as the UFO file story one that was aired 3 years prior. However, there was one notable change.
So, y'all remember that guy named Broly Oates?
Yep.
The dude from the 1930s who purchased the land that the UFO supposedly crashed on, Judge Proctor's, and got severe arthritis and tried to blame it on the UFO crashing and leaking shit into the ground? Well, his nephew Tim Oates was now the owner of the property of the sealed water well where the UFO wreckage was supposedly buried and sealed at.
In this 2008 documentary, Tim allowed the investigators to unseal the well in order to examine it for possible debris. Water was taken from the well and they tested it and they were like, damn, this water is pretty normal. But it does have a lot of aluminum in it, or aluminium. for all you
Aluminium.
British people.
Now, the well was inspected internally and they didn't find anything inside of it. In the episode, they did state that any large pieces of metal had been removed from the well by a past owner of the property, which, how the hell would they even know something like that?
I don't know.
The only past owners would be either Judge Proctor or Brawley Oates.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Just seems like Tim was like, oh, you didn't find anything? Because the past owners removed it.
Yeah, they removed it just so someone else could use the well later, even though we sealed it because we didn't want to use it no more because it was contaminated. But you go ahead.
Yeah, it gives you arthritis.
It gives you arthritis. You know, you drink a lot of aluminum.
Now, another important thing to note is that during this dig of the water well, the remains of a windmill base was found, and it was found near the water well site. And this is important because a lot of people over the years have claimed that this story is fake because Judge Proctor never owned a windmill and a UFO never hit a windmill. However, with this investigation, they did uncover a windmill base, which pretty much proves that Judge Proctor did own a windmill, but how the hell did it
Get destroyed.
get destroyed?
Interesting.
Don't know.
Now, the investigators examined the Aurora cemetery again. They asked to dig up the grave and, of course, were declined. So the investigators said, fuck it, and used ground penetrating radar. They were able to locate an unmarked grave in the area of other 1890 graves.
Yeah. So in that cemetery, there was a bunch of graves that were considered like the graves from the 1890s, and they were just penetrating the ground. You're just penetrating it hard and long and deep with these waves, these big, long waves. They were just sticking it in there, just penetrating it and pulling it right back out.
We're going to know what's in you, ground.
Yeah. However, these images that they were pulling out of the ground,
We're X-rated of naked bodies.
they showed pretty much what was in the grave sites. But the condition of this unmarked grave that they uncovered was so badly deteriorated that the radar could not conclusively prove what type of remains existed there. And the documentary pretty much ended right there, the same as all the others, stating that, hey, we don't know if this thing really happened or not. The evidence is inconclusive.
There's not enough evidence to say that it didn't happen, but there's not enough evidence to say that it did happen.
Yeah. And to this day, individuals from all over the world still visit Aurora, Texas to see the cemetery and the location of where a supposed UFO crashed.
And that right there is the story of the 1897 Aurora, Texas UFO crash. However, just like every week, the episode does not stop here because now we're going to get into our strange fact and findings that we uncovered while researching this topic.
The first strange fact and finding that we're going to talk about are other encounters that took place around this same time near Aurora. So, as we looked into this UFO crash, we started pulling records from all the nearby towns that we could find. And we wanted to see, like, in the time frame of 1895 to 1900, were there any reports of similar sightings of UFOs or aliens or crashes, anything like that? And what we found was pretty pretty crazy. It surprised us, to say the least.
Yeah, we ended up finding documentation that showed from 1895 to 1900, there had been a ton of what was being reported as an airship sighting, not only in East and Northeast Texas, but also in Oklahoma and Louisiana. Upon this discovery, we quickly learned that there were too many sightings to actually break down and investigate to compare with the Aurora one. So we decided to pull civil records and town newspapers from around that time frame of 1897.
What we uncovered is that on April 22nd, 1897, only 5 days after the Aurora UFO had occurred, a report was filed in the Texas town of Rockland. And if you don't know where Rockland is at, it is 250 miles southeast of Aurora, pretty much near Houston, Texas.
Now, in this report, a resident of Rockland, John M. Barclay, stated that he was intrigued when his dog started barking furiously and he began hearing a high pitched noise. He went outside, saw a flying object circling about 20 feet above the ground. It was like, whoa.
Damn, that thing's big. And John stated, hey, this object is kind of like elongated in shape. It's very long and thick. And it has protrusions coming out of it. It's all ribbed. It's weird.
Very weird.
And he kept looking at it and staring at it.
Looks just like what I got in the bedroom.
And then he said it had some blinding lights on it as well. Now, as he watched this ribbed, long object in the sky kind of hover there, it started to settle down just a short distance from his home. And then as it hit the ground, it turned completely dark.
John then stated that a man came from the craft and informed him that his purpose was peaceful and requested some common hardware items to repair the craft. He paid with a $10 bill and took off like a bullet out of a gun. Pew!
Damn,
Where'd he get that money from, Mr. Alien? I bet it was forged.
I bet it was too. Arrest that alien.
IRS, go after him like you go after everybody else, you piece of shit.
Yeah, fuck the HOA. That has
Yeah.
nothing to do with that, but still, fuck.
Oh,
Yeah, we got a
fuck.
story for that later, man. Fuck you, Catherine.
yeah.
I don't even know if she's part of the HOA. I don't even know who she is.
They don't even put their name on there.
Yeah.
Pussies.
I was thinking the same thing. I was just thinking the same thing. All right. So you would initially think that this story was like a bullshit story.
Yeah.
You know. However, we ended up finding another report on that same day of April 22nd, 1897.
So 50 miles west of Rockland, in the town of Jocerand, an individual named Frank Nichols reported that he was awakened by what he called a machine noise. Frank looked outside and saw a heavy object that was very bright, and he watched this object land in his wheat field nearby.
So as he was standing there, butt-ass naked in his window, watching this ship or whatever it was land in his feet field,
His
in
wheat
his,
field.
in his wheat field, he was like, damn,
Ruined my air bath time.
ruining my air bath like Benjamin Franklin used to take. He used to stand butt-ass naked in front of his window like a freak.
Let the wind move things around.
So yeah, Frank was standing there and he was like, damn, I need to get some clothes on. So he put some clothes on and he ran outside to see what this object was and why it was fucking up his wheat field. Now, as he was running towards his craft, he's like, I'm going to get these son of a bitches. They're messing up my wheat and my crop. He's running towards it. He stopped. And then all of a sudden, two men randomly appeared like wizards in the night or ninjas in the night,
Ooh.
standing right next to him. Frank was like, oh,
This is the end.
what the hell you guys want? The men said, hey, can we just draw some water from your water well? That's all we want, just some water.
Frank was like, all right. You go ahead, get some water. And then he watched about half a dozen, as he describes them, short, dark men who came from the craft and walked towards the well. Frank stated that he spoke with the men who were the crew of the strange machine, and the men told him how it worked, but Frank couldn't understand what the hell they were saying. Homie, why you make it?
Oh, you like to see homos naked? That's cool, man.
No, homie, why you make it?
You like to see homos naked,
This is
man.
how the machine works.
This is how the machine works. So yeah, those were the reports that were filed on April 22nd, and we decided to keep digging into records and found that 3 days later, on April 25th, another report surfaced in the town of Merkel, Texas.
Merkel.
Now Merkel is not near Houston. It's up near Aurora. So you have Aurora, which is near Fort Worth, and then you go west about 170 miles, and right there is the small town of Merkel.
Now, in this report, it stated that people returning from church witnessed a heavy object being dragged along the ground by a rope or cable. This rope or cable was attached to a cigar-shaped flying aircraft.
Now, as this UFO traveled along, slowly dragging this big ass object with this rope attached to it, all the residents began gathering around, just watching this big ass UFO dragging this whatever it was. Eventually, the cable ended up getting caught in a railroad track, which caused the UFO to stop and then hover in place for about 10 minutes. A man came from out of the UFO, climbed down the rope, cut the rope, basically freeing the UFO from this whatever it was dragging that was stuck to the railroad. And then he climbed back up the rope and onto the UFO.
All right, so that guy went back into the UFO, which flew away towards the northeast, and all the witnesses described the man as being small and dressed in a light blue uniform.
Now, after that report ended up surfacing, the very next day, on April 26th, 1897, in the town of Aquila, Texas, a local lawyer reported to the press that, hey, I was just riding my horse from my office to my home. I got just outside of the city. I was just riding along, minding my own business. I looked up into the sky, and there it was. UFO, or this lighted object in the sky, flying quietly alongside me.
Upon seeing the object, his horse freaked out and almost toppled his carriage. The lawyer described the object as large and had a bright light that was sweeping the ground below as if it was looking for something.
The lawyer then stated that the object rose into the clouds and flew northeast out of his sight, never to be seen again.
And that right there was the last report that we could find for that time frame. Now, we also want to include a map showing all the locations of the sightings so that you can get a better idea of their locations compared to where Aurora is at. Which, boop.
There you go. Take a look at it. You got Rockland, Jocelyn, Aurora, Merkel, and Aquila. All within, 600 miles of each other. Yeah. Actually, I'd say it's shorter than that because Merkel to Aquila total would be actually Rockland to Jocelyn to Aurora to Merkel then to Aquila is 648 miles. So you take out this spot from Aquila and Merkel where you merge off of I-20 or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Probably just, 400 miles, I'd say.
About.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into our next strange fact and finding, which is about a post on an internet forum. So there is a Aurora encounter forum where people can talk all about this event. On April 9th, 2005, an individual made a post on this internet forum with the subject line of Aurora, Texas alien. The post went on to say, and we quote,
I am the great 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 granddaughter of Finis Dudley Beauchamp. Dudley is the person who donated the family cemetery to the town of Aurora. My great grandmother, Robbie Reynolds, was the 91-year-old person that so many of the online articles mention as having been interviewed in the 1970s. Oh, bitch.
as much as I wish the story were true, the fact of the matter is that it is not. My great grandmother and I were very close. She said that the whole story was a hoax, and the original interview included that. I'm not sure how the story went from her saying that it was a hoax to the story of her parents went to check this out, the situation. I don't know how it got switched up.
In your article, you mentioned that most people of the time were illiterate. I know for sure that my great grandmother and her mother and father could read and write very well. I also know that Robbie Townsend, the woman for whom my great grandmother was named, was a teacher. Bitch. She was a teacher.
I know the truth isn't nearly as cool as the stories that have been told for the past 100 years, but I just wanted to set the story straight. Sincerely, Robbie Fields, El Paso, Texas, April 9th, 2005. And that right there is what was wrote down on the internet forum, which we thought was pretty interesting and that we would include. Which, by the way, have you ever been to El Paso, Texas?
Nope.
I give it a 0 out of 10.
Damn.
Yeah.
You really don't like that
I haven't
place.
had great experiences there. I've been there probably 2 or 3 times. Just not my favorite place.
You must have met Robbie Fields. Because that letter right there, or that post, reading it a second time, sounds very aggressive.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the people were illiterate. I can tell you that they're not.
My great-great-grandmother, she was taught by a teacher, and her teacher too, and the teacher before her.
And my great grandmother was named after that teacher. Praise the Lord, she could read. That's what it started to sound like.
All right, so let's get into our next strange fact and finding.
All right, so our next strange fact of finding is about conflicting reports. So as we dug deeper into this topic, we ended up learning that there were a ton of conflicting reports. Over the years, various individuals have come forward with different reports about what happened during this incident.
Yeah. For example, some individuals say that, hey, the military visited the crash site and took some of the debris with them. Others say, hey, it wasn't the military. In fact, what had happened is that once this UFO hit the windmill and then crashed, another UFO came along, gathered as much debris from the UFO as it could inside of it, and then took off. Which doesn't really make sense because if they did that, then wouldn't they have taken Ned? They just said,
Fuck Ned.
fuck Ned. So, yeah.
Ned, you're dumb enough to get caught. You stay.
So that's kind of some of the conflicting reports.
Guys, why is Ned sleeping in the hole? He won't wake up. Just leave him. We'll pick him up later.
He's taking a nap. He'll be fine.
Oh, man. Now, there are multiple reports that some of the residents actually kept pieces of the wreckage and described the material of the craft as being unusually light and strong, unlike any known metal at the time.
However, all of these reports, the military ones and the ones of individuals keeping the debris, all of them, there's not a single shred of proof to back up any of these claims. No individual has come forward and stated, I have a piece of the debris. The military has not released any documents or declassified documents that talk about this incident and how they were there. So
Hmm.
There's nothing that kind of backs these claims up. It's just people talking shit.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah. And it leads us into our next section, which is our theories.
Theory.
And we are going to discuss the possible theories as to what this could have been. So why don't you tell us about this first theory we got, Dan?
All right, so our first theory is called real. This theory states that the entire UFO crash in Aurora really happened and that the military came in and covered it up, or that it happened so long ago that the documentation was easily lost and all traces of it have since vanished.
Kind of find that one hard to believe, but I'm going to save my personal thoughts until the end.
I mean, it's 1897. How good was the military back then?
Good enough to beat Mexico. Yeah, long live the Alamo.
Oh. Well, then.
It's true.
But okay. I mean, how good was the military in covering up stuff, going and collecting stuff and hauling stuff out of there? I mean, they would have to bring a bunch of horses and carriages to load up shit.
True.
There would have been more sightings of that. But like, oh God, the military came to this small town of Aurora of 1400. You know, there would have been more reports of that, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I doubt that. And then documentation was easily lost and all traces of it have since vanished.
I can see that.
I can see that.
Documentation back then. I mean, you look at the MK Ultra records, almost all of those were destroyed. The only reason they uncovered it is because they had one box taken to a warehouse.
Mm.
So they could have easily gotten rid of all the records if they had any, from back then.
I mean, how good was their filing system back in 1897?
Well, I came across some. We talked earlier about what I came across.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy.
Yeah,
We'll save that for another time. All right, so let's talk about this next theory, which is the most popular and widely believed one, and it is called hoax. So this theory states that the entire Aurora UFO crash was a hoax. And is there anything to back this theory up? Well, there kind of is.
Ooh.
So if you look into the historical records of the town of Aurora, you will learn that months prior to the alleged crash, the town had a bunch of crazy shit happen to him. Or happen to it. Not him. Not the town's not a male or female. It's a place. But anyway.
It.
Yeah. So one of the things that happened to the town is that the local cotton crop, which was the major source of the town's revenue, it was destroyed by a weevil infestation. Which, what did you think a weevil was, Dan? Thought it was a weasel.
Thought it was a weasel. Thought it was a different name for a weasel.
Big ass weasel going around eating up our cotton.
I'm like, why the fuck they eating cotton? Then I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's a beetle.
Yeah.
It's like, well.
Also, another thing to add to that is that the individual who wrote that article in 1897, that whatever SDS, what is his name? Let me scroll up.
Hayden.
He was the local cotton gin owner and the local cotton farmer. So he was the one that supplied the town with all of its cotton, which was its revenue. Just keep that in mind.
What the hell is a cotton gin? I know what cotton is and I know what gin is.
Processing facility.
Is that what they called it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
All right. So another thing that happened is that there was a fire on the west side of the town, and it ended up burning down a bunch of their buildings and actually killed a few people. Yeah.
Damn.
And then shortly after that fire burned a bunch of people, a spotted fever epidemic hit the town and nearly wiped out and killed everyone. And the remaining citizens had to quarantine themselves. So the entire town quarantined itself. And then the nail in the coffin was a railroad. So Aurora, Texas was pretty much cut off from civilization. And just like every town in Texas, you wanted to have a railroad built through there so that you could easily get to other towns and do trades and stuff like that. And there was a railroad being built nearby. and the citizens of Aurora assumed that the railroad would be connected to their town. That did not happen. The railroad ended up only getting around 27 miles of the town and was never built any closer. So it pretty much sealed the town off. They were like, you guys got a quarantine happening? We aren't getting close to you guys. So you take all of those things that had happened. You take the cotton crops being destroyed by the angry weevils. You take the fire in the town that broke out, burning down buildings and killing some of the residents. You take the fever epidemic and the town being placed under quarantine. And then you take the railroad not connecting the town to modern civilization. You have all that happened. And it caused the population of the town to drop dramatically. And this theory is that the article that was published in the Dallas newspaper, the one claiming that a UFO crashed, that was a last-ditch attempt to keep the town alive. So pretty much it was a hoax for publicity to revive a declining town. It was all made up. They just wanted to get the population of people to move back in. Makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff happening, local cotton crop getting destroyed by weevils. Also, there had been a fire. Then they had the spotted fever epidemic that pretty much almost wiped out everybody else. Then the railroad, they got swerved by the railroad company.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
I would have boxed the railroad commission.
I would have said that, oh, there's a UFO attached to your railroad dragging a heavy object. Obviously, y'all need to come this way instead.
All right, so tell us about this next theory.
All right, so our next theory is called experimental aircraft. This theory states that the airship that was seen and crashed could have been an experimental aircraft developed by an inventor during the periods of airship craze, when numerous experimental flying machines were being tested. Which, like you told me, like this was the time of airship craze where they were making airships and all that, because this was 1897, and 1903 is when the Wright brothers actually created the plane.
Yeah. So before that, they were trying and testing everything.
People jumping off buildings. I can fly.
Flapping their wings. I'm a bird.
Who was that? Icarus? The one that tried to make wings with wax and all that and got too close to the sun and...
Oh, I don't fucking know.
You don't remember that? Was it Icarus?
Thought he was the one with the bow and arrow and shot the sun.
Oh, that could be it.
You got a mighty flying Icarus on you.
Oh, I was right. Icarus.
Let me stroke your Icarus.
Damn. Let me get too close to your sun and fall to my death.
All right, so let's talk about this next theory, which is called meteorite. So this theory states that a meteorite crashed down, came from the sky, crashed down and fucking smoked that windmill. Boom, hit it, and then hit the
flower
garden of Judge Proctor. Came out there and he said, damn. And then everybody from the town came out and said, what the hell was that loud sound? Because the meteorite broke the sound barrier. Boom.
Oh.
Yeah. And then boom, hit the windmill, crashed down. Everybody ran over to Judge Proctor, and he was standing there looking at the meteorite. And it was kind of like shriveled up and hot. And it wasn't a perfect oval. It was kind of like curled up. And they were like, is that a meteorite? Somebody's like, nah, man, that's a dead person. That's a dead alien. That's what it is. It's a deformed dead alien that came from outer space. And then somebody's like, no, wait. That's a turd. That's a frozen turd. That corn right there, a piece of corn's a dead giveaway.
That would explain, I think it was the 10-year-old boy who saw the aircraft and it was smoking, a trail of smoke behind it.
Yep.
Meteorite. I wonder if it actually hit a person, the meteorite, and like burned them up, or was it just like a scarecrow in the flower garden? Judge Proctor didn't want no birds fucking up his flowers.
I just think it was a meteorite, but I'll save that for later. Tell us about this last theory we got before we go into our own personal thoughts.
This last theory that we have is called Secret Government Project. This theory states that the airship, aka UFO, was part of a secret government project or military experiment, and the cover story of an alien crash was fabricated as a way to hide the truth of what the government was developing.
If this was like the mid 1950s or 60s, I could believe that, but not in 1897.
No. But like, that was an alien that you guys saw. What the hell's an alien?
Yeah,
That's what I feel like
the
they would be
hell you
saying.
talking about?
Like, UFO? What the hell's a UFO?
It's a space turd. Everybody know that.
Unidentified. What the hell's that word?
All right, so I guess we move on to our personal thoughts and theories. I'm going to ask you, Dan, do you believe this really occurred? Do you think a UFO really came from outer space and crashed in Aurora, Texas in 1897? Or do you think it was a hoax? Or do you think it was a meteorite? Do you think it was a time traveler? What do you think it was?
I mean, time traveler, that's not a bad one. Because, I mean, you had the guy coming out of his house because his dogs were barking. And he's running out into his wheat field. The next thing you know, two guys pop up. Hey, can I get some water?
I want some water. Sugar water.
Sugar water.
Your skin looks weird, Edgar.
But yeah, like, they need water from the guy's water well. And all of a sudden, the rest of the crew of short little dark men come out and collect the water. God, that sounds really bad.
It does sound bad.
Because where are these other two guys just standing there? Go on now.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, that actually sounds pretty bad. But I mean, because after they get the water and collect everything, they kind of take off.
Yeah.
I mean, time traveler's not bad, but not enough evidence of it. I would have to lean more towards the hoax side.
Okay.
That, the town was going through a slump. A lot of stuff happened. And they needed to build up the economy again. And I mean, they wanted the railroad to come through the town. That would bring more traffic in, bring more product and all that. And the fact that the railroad company was just like, it's too small of a town, too much shit's going on. They're quarantined over there. We're going to swerve, get away from it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were trying to bring more people in to where, like, oh, you know what? We could probably fix the railroad to divert that way. But nah,
Think it was just a hoax?
I believe so.
I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to add a little twist to it. I think something did crash there. I think it was either a meteorite or maybe an experimental airplane. I say airplane, some flight thing that they were.
Aircraft,
Yeah.
airship.
And somebody was traveling along and they crashed. And then the town was like, whoa, hey, you know what? This could be a good way for us to kind of push our town and get the population to be increased, and the railroad will want to be built here. So they end up publishing that on August 19th. And then all these other reports that started popping up in Jocelyn and Rockland 5 days later, and then in Merkel and Aquila were just other towns that had seen how popular this Aurora story had become. So they created similar ones of their own. Because if you look at all these towns, Rockland, Jocelyn, Aquila, Merkel, all of them have the same thing in common with Aurora, which is that they are all very small towns. And at the time, they all wanted a railroad run right through them. And I think they saw this opportunity of, like, hey, Aurora is publishing a story about a UFO hitting their place, and they got a lot of publicity about it. It happened to us too. We got UFOs too, guys. So that's what I think. I think it was a hoax, but well, not really a hoax. I think something really crashed, but I don't think it was from out of this world. I think it was either a man-made thing or a meteorite, in that the citizens saw it as an opportunity to push for publicity to save the town.
I could see that an aircraft or airship is what everyone referred it to. Airship.
Look, it's an airship.
Which I totally forgot about blimps.
The Hindenburg. What year did that happen?
I don't know. I don't want to look that shit up.
What?
Hang on. The Hindenburg. happened. The most famous Zeppelin was the Hindenburg, which was destroyed by fire in 1937.
Ah, yeah. Meh.
But they did, in 1852, built the first powered airship, which consisted of a 143-foot long, cigar shaped, gas filled bag with a propeller powered by a 3 horsepower steam engine.
Three horse. Oh, steam. Yeah.
Steam.
So that's what crashed. Solved. You got that son of a bitch in the air. Oh my God.
Got that in the air, then you had to stop, and the crew had to get out and gather some more water for the steam engine.
Damn. We done solved it.
Now, I don't know about the ones crashing. Maybe as they were coming down to land, they fucked up Judge Proctor's windmill and flower garden on the way. The stuff that got caught on the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the crew members climbing down because they had, like, what they used to weigh down the blimps and all that. Maybe one of them stayed on and it got caught on the railroad, and
They're like, fuck. Go
had to
calm
go
down,
down.
Ed.
Had to go down and cut it.
Yeah.
Ned.
Ned.
It was
Ed.
little man Ned. He hit the windmill, died, and they buried him as an alien.
We solved it. We solved the case.
It was a blimp.
Now, if you or a loved one have any information regarding blimps during that time period, or if your great-great-grandparents, pappy, mama, whomever,
Grandmama.
they have any information regarding any crashes in Aurora, Texas, or the surrounding areas, send us an email to Aaron, AARON, at theoriesofthethirdkind.com, or Dan, DAN, at theoriesofthethirdkind.com. We would love to hear from you.
And if you have any old magazine clippings from that time, not even just clippings, like the actual whole page, I want to know what type of stuff they actually had in the newspapers back then.
Yeah, Dan wants to look at it.
Yeah, I want to see what other kind of weird shit they put in there. Metal man, green monster from the lake rises. Something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Penetrating the ground.
Well, with that being said, you have anything else you would like to add to today's episode?
No. I'm just debating whether or not we should ever go to Aurora, but it doesn't really seem like there's much to see.
There's a cemetery.
There's a cemetery. There's a
That's about it.
tombstone. They got the plaque that says that they have epidemics and stuff.
I'm good.
I want to see Judge Proctor's windmill and his flower garden that got fucked up.
I want to see his water well. I want to play around in it.
I want to get arthritis.
Mesothelioma, you'll be entitled to compensation. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today. And again, thank you for your support. You are all amazing, every single one of you. If for some reason you cannot get enough of us, you can go check out our premium subscription for $6.66 a month. You can support Satan. Just kidding. You can support us and listen to our audio version, or you can be a big baller and join our elite club for $9.99 and get the not only audio format, but also the video format of our premium episode, as well as all of the other video episodes as well and audio versions of them. And yeah, just go to our website to sign up, theoriesofthethirdkind.com. Click on that link if you want to. No pressure. But with that being said, Dan, you want to roll us out?
Sure will. It's okay to be out of this world with your thoughts.
Because you are not alone.
Boom.